said in my opening remarks, in order to keep our motivation is to keep people in after lunch. So we have to do something. And to fire, I mean, we're going to have concerts here, we're going to have entertainment, that's for later. So what we thought is maybe if we invite some people that they are knowledgeable. Knowledgeable means that they're very old. I mean, so...
Don't say that.
I don't mind. So they're knowledgeable people. Knowledge of people, in order to acquire knowledge, you need experience. In order to acquire experience, time passes by. Now, and so I invite, that's my choice at the dinner tomorrow. So I invite a few people. The initial idea was to talk about the US turmoil, which, if I need the term, in of the educational system and the universities, and discuss about this. Always serious issues should be discussed with a little bit of Aristophanes flavor, cynical flavor, if you want. So I invite a few people, but I want to close it with a non-American. So, I mean, she can tell us, I mean, who cares about the US universities? There is the rest of the world. So I'm very pleased that the head of our unit architecture, she accepted my invitation to speak outside the box, because all the first 4 speakers are inside the box. You have 10 minutes to impress the world, and each speaker. And of course, after that, we'll have people taking position, not asking questions, I don't like asking, but taking position, but implicitly as in an ancient Athenian symposium, you can criticize what the others say without naming them. I mean, this is a very polite way of saying. You know, like, for example, if I say something, you say, don't say Gregory, when you say stupid, but repeat what I said in a very polite way and say this is a stupid. It's a very good way and polite way of doing it. Otherwise, we're going to have fist fights here. Okay, I'm not going to introduce the speakers. I'm not going to say anything about their time. To say time, our first speaker is here. Who is our first speaker? What's that? I don't have any glasses.
Leah Hollis.
Yeah, you're the first, aren't you?
He is the first.
Oh, that's me.
We go by numbers. We're in concentration camp. So we go by numbers. Number 1, please.
Right from up there?
Yeah, of course. How you can
I
impress?
have 10 minutes.
You have 9 minutes, 59 seconds. Don't get
I'm going to sit in the front so I can watch it.
Yeah, watch it. And we have some Asian CIA agent from Trump here, so watch your language.
I'll be good. You won't hear me?
Don't say anything bad about my president.
Say hello? Can you hear me? Is that better? There we go. Wow, what to say about higher education in America right now. I'm in a diversity, equity, and inclusion space. And it's even happened at this conference where someone says, oh really, you're in the DEI space, how's that going? It's like this thing that follows people in my space. I'm at Penn State University, University Park. There are about 150 of us in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. Also, to familiarize yourself with American higher education, we have conferences. They revolve around sports, and that could be a whole other roundtable thing going on, but we're in what's called the Big Ten. What that means is, get with this, there are 20 schools in the Big Ten, which are the big football conferences, which are UCLA, USC, that type of thing. And so we have peer institutions. And so for the first year, I'm finishing my 2nd year. For the first year, the Big Ten colleagues in DEI got together and talked about what are we doing? I mean, it's something we do. What's going on in your campus? How are you handling issues with immigration students? This is before Trump was doing what he was doing. And the biggest issue that came across, which nobody was able to resolve it, was how do we best serve our students who are upset about the Hamas war? And so even that issue came across my desk, and before we could get a handle of that, then we have this election, which we have been lamenting about, at least in higher education. we've been lamenting about since Donald Trump has gotten into office. When I was asked to do this talk, thank you very much, I identified 5 different things that we certainly could talk about, and other things that I'm sure other people have to say. One of the things that I've noticed, that we've noticed, is this anti-intellectualism thing going on. That is, if you're smart, we're trying to take you out. What's interesting about this is when President Trump got elected in 16? Yeah, I'm trying to forget that. The night that the returns were coming in, my mother, who also was in higher education, was calling me every half an hour. How are they voting for him? How are they voting? I mean, she was just sick. How are they voting for him? And she asked me the question enough times that it became a research question. And as I'm watching the returns, and at that time I was not at Penn State. I live outside of Philadelphia, which is a much more diverse, cosmopolitan space, very much like Pittsburgh. Where I'm working at, the main campus where I'm at, is in central Pennsylvania, relatively homogeneous, doesn't have a lot of diversity. I hope you get the picture. But what I noticed is that when the Pennsylvania returns came in, Penn State went blue. So then I started looking at other state institutions that were in red states. For example, LSU, the rest of Louisiana went red, but LSU went blue. Same thing was happening in Iowa, I believe in Arizona. In other words, the counties around big universities were going blue, even if the state went red. This isn't necessarily a universal thing. It did not happen in Wyoming. It did not happen in Idaho. It did not happen in Alaska. But what CNN picked up on was this college voting line. Those who had gone to school or had learned critical thinking, and I'm not talking about you have to have a PhD, I'm talking about you went to community college, you have some kind of training on how to analyze that there's no way he's going to build that stupid wall and make Mexico pay for it. I mean, come on, did you really have to have an education to figure that out or just be a critical thinker? So I think the intellectual, nobody's proven this, but the anti-intellectual piece is the Trump administration realizes that if you can think critically, you can understand that global warming is happening, like right now, as we're sitting here in Athens, Greece, right? We were talking with some of my colleagues earlier. My nieces grew up right outside of San Antonio, and if you've been watching the news, the Guadalupe River overflowed and killed 67 young kids. Now, the river has been there. My brothers lived there for 25 years. They have flooding, but at that level to rise that quickly. And some of the other things that we have seen across the world with the heat domes and the crazy snowstorms, and we're going to sit here and believe it when the president says that windmills cause cancer. That's yeah, he has said some mess like that. So if you're not a critical thinker, you just believe what is put out there, you will ingest that bile and vote accordingly. So I certainly see higher education caught in the crosshairs with this anti-intellectual piece where he's dismantling grants. So in a big school like mine, we're a research one, which means we love grants. So if I make $1 million grant, my school gets $650,000. He is now capped. Instead of being like a 65% indirect cost, he's capped it at 15%. So what does that mean for a school like Penn State, or Pitt, or Arizona, or BYU, University of Florida? It means that their operating costs are drying up because he's taken indirect costs. The other thing that's happening, I have a few minutes left, the other thing that I see happening, which is so unfortunate, is, and he did it in the first term, what's happening with our international students. The travel ban that occurred, and I was teaching at Historically Black College and University when the first travel ban hit. So that means I have a class of graduate students, mostly African Americans, some from the African diaspora are coming over, and we are watching in real time, believe it or not, in a social justice class, as Trump is cutting off access to this country where people are being stranded at their airports abroad. Now, that's very hurtful, of course, to international students. But I also need to remind you, for research institutions, and even for some small liberal arts institutions, we rely on international students for two things. I wish I could be altruistic and say it was all about the intellectualism. But if anything about it is, you know, you've got to be a cash payer to be an international student. So by him cutting off access to international students, you're also cutting off the cash flow, whether you're a small HBCU, historically black college and university, which is about 100 of them in the US, whether it's a school like Hamilton or Colby, those are small liberal arts schools, even a big school. My alma mater is Boston University, which at the time had the largest number of international students. What does this also do? It cuts off the interdisciplinary and the cross-pollination of knowledge, especially in our STEM fields. So at Penn State, we have so many students who are coming. It's a destination university where they're coming to study STEM, IST, information science, engineering, those types of things, and those students have been cut off. So what's happening? The same thing I'm telling my niece. My niece, I am so proud of her. She is a rising junior at Yale University. Baby girl got a scholarship, thank God. She is studying oceanography. And as a rising junior, she is already looking to Europe for graduate school. I have a number of my friends who have raised their kids in the United States, whether they are born in the US or immigrated to the US. I'm looking at the University of Toronto. I'm looking at Edinburgh. I'm looking at McGill. I am not trying to subject my kids to the mercurial nature of this particular institution. Now, I'm in my middle to late 50s, which means my chance to get out is probably fastest through retirement. But unfortunately what I see, and there's probably 3 other things I can talk about, but what we're seeing is the decimation of higher education, first through the grants, also the DEI space, because let's face it, if you're a first generation kid, if you've never been to school, your parents have never been to school, all of those kids are not going to have the access. The same thing is saying when you cut off international students. We need that intellectualism from the international student population to not only grow with them, but they're growing with us, and we all come up together. Instead, shoot, if I'm an international student, I'm not touching the US, I'm going to McGill in Montreal. I'm going somewhere else besides here. And that brain drain isn't going to just happen for 4 years. We flip a switch, and maybe the Democrats get it together. Anybody from the US knows what I'm talking about, with that mess we did with Biden.
You have 1 minute?
Thank you. I could keep going. But what I'm trying to say is, the impact on higher education is going to be much more.
I'm doing my job.
You are, you're great. Is much greater than what we're going to see in 4 years. I suspect it will be at least 15 years to recover from what's going on with this institution. And you know what? If anybody has a job overseas, I certainly would be interested. 30 seconds left.
An inspirational start, to say the least. And now I'm gonna call our second speaker, Monika Thadhani. Did I correct? You see, I like when things do not listen to me. Sorry. Thadhani. Italian.
You almost got it.
Yeah, Italian, no Italian. What is the name? What is the name? You
The
don't know.
origin is from India.
Yeah.
And I was born in Poland and I live in the US.
Okay, 10 minutes to impress the world.
No pressure.
I'm gonna put my here then. Why is this their own computer? No. I was wrong.
Okay, good afternoon. Monika Thadhani, I'm from Madison in Wisconsin, US. I'm a professor there. And I know this topic is very emotional. As I was preparing for it, and I was listening to you, thank you for a great presentation, I decided I'm going to prepare something very fundamental just for us to remember. And maybe kind of recollect on certain things about universities. What does it mean? What the universities are. So sanctuary cultures. I'd like to begin with this question. What does it mean to create sanctuary? Not just a place, but a culture. Not just the culture, just the culture of living, which feels quite relevant right now and feels really urgent. It's not just kind of academic exercise, but sorry. It's jumping too fast. Okay. Sorry, I'm not get used to this type of computer. So what does it actually mean? And how universities, those imperfect yet powerful vessels of democracy, can resist political repression and nurture cultures of freedom, belonging, and transformation in systems, in behaviors, and for everybody. And this ideal logical control looks like kind of like how do our political landscape of fear looks like, right? So this is what we're kind of facing now. For everybody who may be not that familiar what's going on in US, so there are reassertion of ideological control over public institutions under Trump, of course, both in the first term and his return in 2025. Universities have become battlegrounds for a cultural war that seeks to limit thought and narrow the truth, so through different like book bans, curriculum restrictions, VI, program rollbacks, 10-year trends, some examples, Florida's Stop Woke Act and Texas attack on a 10-year and CRT. This is just a couple points to highlight what happened during the Trump administration, like first during his first term. So Executive Order 13950 banned federal diversity training addressing systematic racism or white privilege. And 1776 Commission was created to rewrite US history as a patriotic narrative minimizing slavery and systematic injustice. So we are threatened to defund institutions promoting anti-American values, particularly those offering sanctuary protections. Faculty were surveilled and publicly shamed for progressive or critical pedagogy. And this is just quick, maybe a couple points on like what happened in 2025. This I did like at the beginning, maybe like, I don't know, maybe the list was at the beginning of his candidacy, since he took the office. But now the list kind of increased and there's much more happening and recent kind of bills passing. So the new Department of Education guidelines threatened to pull funding from universities that offer courses on critical race theory, gender identity, and colonialism. The Free Inquiry Oversight Act allows political appointees to review and censor federally funded academic research, which is really ridiculous right now. I was born in Poland, and this is when I was born during the communist time, this is actually what was happening. So I came to US for all this amazing like freedom of speech and opportunities. So I just feel like, yeah, this is something that I already like kind of experienced being born in Poland. And then the other one is Executive Directive restricts international scholars from ideologically subversive nations, cutting off global academic exchange, which is something you just mentioned as well in your previous talk. So according to American Council of Education, over 70 institutions reported internal self-censorship in course offering due to the fear of the political retaliation by early 2025. So some of the universities, unfortunately, are kind of, due to their fear and kind of like of lack of funding, they are adapting this, unfortunately, and of course, but what is being silenced is not just content, it's a context. What is being punished is not just critique, it's the consciousness. And yet resistance begins not only in courts or headlines, but in classrooms, in relationships, in collective memory and shared imagination. A little bit back to history of the university and its mission. Again, like I want to bring something fundamental to remind everybody what the university is. So the modern university is one of humanity's most radical inventions, born from monasteries and guild halls in the Middle Ages. Its purpose was never just vocational training, it was the pursuit of universal knowledge. One of the first university of Bologna, founded in 1088, gave rise to all the legal and civic innovations. And of course, Paris and Oxford shaped medieval philosophy, and Al-Qarawiyyin in Morocco established in 859 still in operation. It's the oldest known degree-granting institution, so we've been in this for ages. And universities and its missions, yes, they were designed to protect enclaves of thought, legally and spiritually insulated from state and church interference. They were called universitas not because they were global, but because they were communal spaces where inquiry belonged to all. And some global mission on democratic roots. So in US, in 1862, the Moral Act democratized higher education, funding land-grant universities committed to agriculture, science, and the public good. After World War II, the GI Bill opened education to millions, creating this middle class and accelerating all the innovation. Again, like universities are to preserve knowledge, to produce new ideas, to question dominant narratives, to nurture informed citizenship. And I like this saying there's a great quote by Clara Germana, the visionary president of University of California. University is not engaged in making ideas safe for students, it is engaged in making students safe for ideas. And of course, there's some example of some research, innovation, and enduring legacies of what the universities have done. So internet began there in the ARPANET at UCLA. The crisp gene editing technology emerged from research of US Berkeley. I don't need to point all these kind of inventions. And there is much more, of course. Artificial intelligence ethics framework are being developed at Stanford and Oxford. So everything was kind of new and innovative. It's happening on the field and the landscape of the university platform. And to the university labs led in renewable energy, quantum computing, planetary health. Those innovations shape the future not just of markets but of humanity. But such discoveries require more than grants. They require freedom to fail, to dissent, to imagine otherwise, and that freedom is being currently taken from the US universities under the Trump administration. And I'm calling this central cultures because it's something which I think it's not a fortress, it's a promise of dignity, promise of safety, from erasure, from promise to protect inquiry, especially the kinds that threaten the dominant order. And sanctuary cultures mean standing from academic freedom, as shared ethic, choosing solidarity over silence, redefining discomfort as part of growth, not as a threat of doubt from the authority. This is some strategy I propose we could begin with, and again, things like rewriting the history and rewriting the kind of the mission of the universities, but I think something worth to remember and not forget, and I'm hoping that universities will begin to implement it within their discussions. Yes, so thank you so much.
The third speaker is Liontas.
Right.
Okay. And he will speak for 10 minutes, minus 1 second.
-1, -2, and counting.
Yeah, I'm gonna count, yes. Have a seat.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity to represent my university, University of South Florida, and our doctoral program, Tesla. First of all, I would like to begin by telling you that you need to disregard what Dr. Papanikos said earlier about us being knowledgeable and also being old. I'm only 39 years of age, so please disregard that.
And you never lie in the evening.
Exactly. So,
Only in the afternoon.
what I'm trying to do today is to highlight how Tesla's interdisciplinary approach prepares scholars to navigate and shape the evolving landscape of language education. By integrating theory and technology, the program fosters research and teaching, innovation, equipping graduates to lead in academia and beyond. I begin my remarks today by providing an overview of the Tesla program, highlight its distinctive interdisciplinary design and commitment to preparing scholars for the evolving field of technology, enhanced language education. I then shall outline briefly the leadership role and specific contributions in teaching, service, and mentoring graduate students. Following this, I address recent challenges facing higher education in detail, we assess institutional responses and available resources. Finally, I shall try to offer some advice for grant management, discuss ongoing initiatives to strengthen institutional resilience, and conclude with a forward-looking message affirming our shared mission and commitment to academic excellence. USF's PhD program in technology education in language acquisition merges expertise from foreign language education, ESOL, and instructional technology. It produces a rigorous collaborative program. It's grounded in theory, instructional technology, and applied linguistics research. Our students engage in coursework, collaborative research, conference presentations, university teaching and service, and they do join a global community advancing technology-enhanced language education. The program fosters a cohort-based supportive environment drawing from a competitive international applicant pool. Students gain practical experience through research teams, committees, teaching, grant writing, and academic service. From 2014 to 2021, I served as the Tesla director, and from 2018 to 2022, I taught 50 graduate courses to 501 students, developed 23 additional courses, directed 24 dissertations, chaired 20 committees, and mentored students in research projects, 29 conference co-presentations, and 17 co-author publications. I also served as lead instructor for ESOL 3 education, academic advisor and faculty mentor, earned a USF Graduate Faculty Mentor Nomination 2021. From 2018 to 2022, I contributed to Tesla's assessment cycles and held multiple elected and appointed roles on college education committees addressing policy, curriculum, faculty governance, and academic analytics. Please understand that I share these details not for self-promotion, but to illustrate the scope and collaborative conditions under which my colleagues and myself sustain academic excellence for students and institutions. Their success, I maintain, is inseparable from ours. Since January 2025, as everybody knows, higher education nationwide, including in Florida, has faced abrupt, destabilizing challenges. As a long-time program leader and faculty mentor, I remain actively involved in addressing these challenges on behalf of our students, faculty, and institutions. Many in academia have had to become more agile and strategic in mentoring, research, and safeguarding academic excellence. The lessons that we all learned from navigating COVID-19 remain instructive, as recent federal government actions and funding programs have again placed international students in precarious positions. Today's challenges largely stem from evolving federal directives, leaving academic leaders with few clear answers. Rapid, intentional responses are required to protect institutions' futures. Concerns persist regarding executive orders and their impact on federal research funding. In response, USF launched a 2025 Administration Transition Information and resources page and a federal funding update to provide timely guidance to the research community. The university also launched a USF federal funding updates website to facilitate information sharing with the USF research community. Those are the two sites. One is the executive order tracker, because they do change every 24 hours. So we have to be always on the go. That's the other one from the university website directly. So anybody who is involved in academia, anybody who's involved in grants writing, anybody who's involved in international students, especially at the doctoral level, we have to navigate those pages on a daily basis, just to make sure that nothing has changed. That said, proposal applicants are urged to verify deadlines, confirm announcements have not changed, and avoid last-minute submissions that are due to technical issues or restricted agency hours. Active awards remain enforceable while funding lasts. If it doesn't, then you just lost your funding. Communications from funding agencies should be reported immediately to sponsored research for guidance. Principal investigators, such as myself, should review grant agreements carefully and prioritize again and again timely submission of reports and deliverables. In other words, if I have to report something by next week Thursday at 1 p.m., I cannot miss the deadline, because they may just use that excuse as a way to take the funding away, even though the fund has already been provided by the previous administration. Despite these uncertainties, USF leadership remains committed to research, risk mitigation, and operational resilience. In April 2025, just 2 months ago, USF established the Advancing Efficiency and Strategic Impact Task Force, that's a mouthful, to identify operational efficiencies and reinvest resources into priority areas aligned with student successes, faculty excellence, research, and institutional resilience. The task force success depends on input from faculty and staff across the university. As always, we are tasked with pursuing efficiencies that strengthen the university's future while demonstrating the significant return on investment we provide to our region, state, and nation. For myself, I appreciate the opportunity to share with you how we're addressing these evolving challenges within USF and the TESLA program. Much remains to be done in the days ahead. Time itself shall stand as a witness of dedication, resilience, and unwavering commitment to advancing academic excellence and shaping the future of higher education. For all who strive to leave tomorrow better than we found it today. Onward we go, and with that, let me close with these remarks. The remarks that we heard so far by Dr. Leah Hollis and Monika Thadhani incisively captured depoliticization, anti-intellectual pressures, and threats to academic freedom confronting higher education, while reaffirming universities' roles as sanctuary spaces fostering resilience, inclusion, and scholarly autonomy. I'm certain that our next two speakers, Dr. Ates and Dr. Gonçalves, if I pronounce the names correctly, will offer valuable perspectives on how universities can confront entrenched limitations, embrace responsible AI integration, and critically reassess inherited academic models to remain resilient, inclusive, and globally relevant. And with that, at 8 minutes and 28 seconds, you still owe me. Oh no! He's killing me.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We say, take your chair and walk.
Okay. Is that what you want to do? Take my chair and walk? All right. Let me see if my back allows me to. I apologize for sitting, but
You want help?
no, it's okay. I'll walk in pain. Don't worry about it. Take the chair, leave the chair here for you. I'll sit over here.
Of course, I don't worry about it.
Oh, you don't worry.
You
Thanks.
know, because I see that
Thanks for the love.
you are 39 years old.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, our next speaker is the last from the United States. Sick and tired with them. Shut up. and no, shut up to the floor. And Burcu Ates, correct?
I was going to introduce Burcu Ates.
Burcu. And you are from United States, but originally
Turkey.
Turkey.
Well, on my phone for the...
So we have one from Poland, one from Turkey.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, can you go back to the United States?
Thankfully, I'm a dual citizen.
But by
so-
birth?
By birth.
By you were born in the United States?
Yes.
Okay, you have 50% chance. You have 50% chance. You never know over there. The aeroplane may be low change.
That's right. Hi everyone, my name is Burcu Ates, and I would like to thank Dr. Papanikos for allowing me to be in this sanctuary space, as my colleague has mentioned. Today I am coming from Texas to this audience to tell you some of the things that we have been going through before even the administration came in power. I live some of the issues that my colleagues have mentioned here day to day. And so I wanted to give a very brief kind of what we do every day, some of the challenges, and where we find hope as we move forward, because we need to keep hope for our students, ourselves, for academia, and the world peace, you name it. So the presentation of my title, as you can see, I'll talk about some of how to overcome the political challenges and then talk about AI. So who am I? I was happy to see that you are also a TESOL professor. I am also a TESOL professor. Naturally it came. I was born in the US to Turkish parents. We went back to Turkey, and I've been living in the US for the last 25 years, as soon as I completed my degree. And then I started my teaching career in Michigan, where I got my master's degree, where I found love teaching the refugee and the immigrant student population, because the very first population that I taught was, they were from Sudan, if you know the concept of the lost boys of Sudan. So it has been very empowering, and I teach those courses. Where I teach is Sam Houston State University. It is a state university in Texas. It is part of the Texas State University system. That means that a lot of the legislations, a lot of the things that are happening in Texas, we need to abide, we need to comply with all the things that go into effect. Our students are mostly first generation, meaning they did not have any parents who have finished college, who had the opportunity to go to college. Minority serving, meaning a highest population of minority students, or we don't use that term a lot, but that is the institutional thing. And then recently we have been an Hispanic serving institution. Again, the high percentage of the students are from those backgrounds. And then one interesting fact is, in Texas, where my university is, the wall unit, where the death penalty, where the executions happen, only place is in Texas, and it's close to our college building, about 10 minutes away in walking distance. So I'll that's the context. So talking about DEI and everything, very recently a Senate bill, we call it, has passed in June 2023, and it has been in effect. That's why I say that we don't have a DEI office anymore. We used to have in college assistant dean of diversity, equity, inclusion. We don't have those anymore, because a bill in the US context in that state level means it becomes law. So if you do not comply with that law, I might lose my job, the students might be kicked out. There needs to be, again, compliance. So if you look at it, it prohibits institutions. Again, I'm a state institution, establishing or maintaining diversity, equity, and inclusion offices. I'm not going to read it, but if you take a look at, these are the things that we cannot do at our university. We cannot give preference. Oops, sorry. So affirmative action is no longer is valid. We cannot give any kind of preference, and the most, all these things employ someone from, specifically with these DEI, let's say, checklist. And some of the things that we did a lot in our college was to provide training about DEI issues to faculty and students. We can no longer do those trainings. We have invited professors from Philadelphia area to come and talk to us. We cannot do those things anymore. But what we can do, and this is still, we don't know what's going to happen, we can talk about these issues in our classrooms. And we believe that that might also be taken away from us. I do teach multicultural education classes. I do teach very sensitive topics to our students. We can supposedly have guest speakers. We have not invited anyone to talk about things that were related to DEI. We cannot even use the word inclusion. For able to comply, we had to use that word diversity even from all of our websites on our colleges or universities' website. So these are some of the things that we can do. However, so it has, as all my colleagues have said, it has impacts on the grants that we have. There are no longer grants where we used to apply because we were part of the Hispanic or minority serving institutions. We can't do that. So even the grants that I was part of it have been, taken away from us, just like some of the examples. So it was tough, but we had some chance at the federal level before. We never had the chance at the state level. We had some chance, but that doesn't exist anymore. But I found happiness with all these things, again, talking about hope, in things related to AI. Never before I have met other professors on campus that an invitation was sent through the Office of Research and I can't remember, Office of Research and Engagement or something like that, and invited some of the faculty like me who are interested in AI to meet all the other faculty to apply for grants in AI because they have received an executive order that multiple AI grants were going to become available to us. And I'm like, okay, I can't lose hope. I've met professors from film studies who do animations through AI. I have met professors from computer science who actually create AI-related apps in a space where, we're talking about current things and about future. I realized that, I don't know how many of you use AI, but that has been so exciting for me academically to kind of engage myself in AI work. I have a colleague here who will be presenting tomorrow. He always tells me, he is the one who encouraged me to be really engaged in AI. He says, we need to work, we should not be working harder, but we need to be working smarter. And that has worked a lot for me in terms of, okay, how can I incorporate AI to my benefit for accepting AI as we think about the future of the US universities. It's not going away. Students are using it. I have recently put it on my syllabus about AI work. I say you can use it, but you need to cite it, that you got this information from AI. And then so I'm like, okay, I'm going to be embracing this. And I have started to use again for the coursework, and I'll show you some examples, and then for research as well, like from old school libraries to using different applications where you gather the information faster. Yes. So this is my very last slide of inclusion for Wszechnica. If you have her plate, anyone who does AI stuff in their teachings here or research, some of you, please figure it out, play with it. It is amazing. It gave me the opportunity to find case studies. You write a few prompts, it creates case studies based on my experiences that would have taken forever, now could be done with the help of the AI to create beignets in teacher education, very important, and have the students reflect on those type of spaces. And then if you look at it, these are the things that I have been using it because it's accessible and it is affordable. I remember, last words, when I was doing my PhD doctorate, I was not in English as a first speaker, and then I was paid a lot of money for editors. Now, if I have anything that I want it to be edited, I go and use the AI. I have, as a doctoral student, spent hundreds of dollars for people to edit it. Now I'm like, okay, our students can utilize, and you can learn English even playing with what is the correct format and what's not.
Okay, thank you very much. Our last speaker will close this roundtable discussion. I'm sick and tired of listening about US problems. I have my own. I have too many problems in the United States. I'm sick and now of this conference that we organize I think we should change. Clara, you have the opportunity. Don't even mention US.
Yes, please.
Okay. So
Let's see.
thank you very much for our colleague's presentation and Dr. Papanikos for inviting me to speak about the Portuguese situation or my school situation. My school is the University of Lisbon. It is from the 13th century, very old. Well, although it's very
what's it,
small.
13th century?
13th century.
Before the US was discovered.
Of course, much before. And our school is the Lisbon School of Architecture. We have about 2,000 students at all, and the architecture course has per year, we would say 900 or 1,000 students maximum. So it's not a big, it's the biggest public school of architecture in Portugal, still very small comparing to the US schools. So, but the first thing that I would like to say is that happily we are free in Portugal. So, yes, I was listening and I was thinking we live in a complete different reality, because those questions on what can we say, what can I write, we don't even think about. So, it's different.
I think Trump yesterday announced that Portugal will be the 53rd state because we border the same sea.
We are very small and poor, so it's not interesting. Yes, we don't have oil or mines. So actually, I'm not focusing in particularly only in academic issues, but I took some ideas that are transversal to society, well, at least the society in which I live and study and teach, that I think are paradigms of the contemporary situation and reflects on students, and also students are growing in this situation. So the first idea I divided in two groups of ideas. The first is new challenges that are emerging today, and then the second part is about old habits that I think that are necessary to improve what are the less positive side of this new reality. So the first idea has to do with AI which of course is a very positive mechanism of researching and adds lots of positive sides, but on the other hand, there is a problem that I think, or more than one, that I think it's not so positive, in which concerns the use of AI. It's the habit of the student asking only in order to get a quick answer, rather than thinking and formulate reasonings by themselves. For instance, if I ask anything, they would prompt on the AI, GPT or other drive, and then the answer quickly appears, instead of the student being 4 hours thinking about what would be an answer. Then, even, or this maybe seems quite stupid, but I think it's a true problem, even a physical inertia emerges from this point of, please, as we see the students, if for instance, see how was the design of Acropolis in Athens. Please see there in or mobile or your laptop. You even don't get out of your chair and go to the library and search physically in books. The other related issue is the question of the internet and the domain of the popular versus erudite world, because I think this mechanism of searching in the internet is killing in some way the erudite world. Because, for instance, if you have an historical figure and unfortunately the name is the same as the football player, you have hundreds of sites that connects to the football player and not, for instance, the writer or the architect that you have searching for. And then there is another idea that is has to do with standardization of formats, and concerning, for instance, 20 years or 30 years ago, you did a thesis and you could format your thesis according to what was your theme. Maybe you could be very poetic and draw have drawings. You could have a very horizontal rectangular formatting. You could be bigger in paper. You could whatever. And now everything is very by the same line. So every A4 or A3 or A2, etc. So I think this is not very good in the sense that the heads are going also in this formatting line. And also this, I think it's transversal, because for instance, when you go to a newspaper site, the crash of a plane, for instance, the other day when the Indian crash of the plane, the rectangular with the news was exactly the same rectangle as the Ronaldo last information, or an influencer opinion of the coffee table or something stupid. So it seems that the visual culture don't help people to create a hierarchy in what is important and what is not so important. And also, for instance, I can give you an example, my ID card, which is who I am, and it's absolutely, in Portugal, we have an ID card for everything. And my ID card is exactly the same material, same teeth, same format as my supermarket promotion card. So it's almost, it seems that this doesn't has importance, but I think that this is the result and a symptom of this standardization and equal treatment of very different aspects of life. And this creates a lack of hierarchies. And I think that the motive is to be impartial, but the problem is that if we are total impartial, we are not human. So even in newspapers, there should be a hierarchy of the size of the rectangles that have important news and not so important news. So I think it's a symptom of technology dominating our real lives. So the other issue is about
maybe this is a more Portuguese, I'm not sure about some more Portuguese way of life. We are disinformalization everything, not that we have to be too formal, but if you are not formal, if you are informal in every situation, you don't understand, and in particular students, they don't understand what is a class, what is not a classroom. When somebody is speaking, if he's the professor, you can't speak because it's not correct, because they don't understand that the teacher is speaking for all the students and not for the abstract environment. So I think this is, for instance, I think it's unbelievable that politicians write on social media. For me, it's, they should only inform people. Sorry for my English. They should only give their opinions or statements on official channels. They should not write on what's happened or so on, because even people are not compulsory to have those applications. I can live without my mobile phone if I want. So this act of the politicians communicating through social media is a disinformalization of what should be formal, and it means order, not in the sense of totalitarian, but in putting things in their own balance, in an equilibrium. 1 minute. So okay, so I'm finishing. So there's my ideas that I think that are very important to promote again in students are: one, turn off everything from time to time, absolutely turn off and be silent. And another thing that is very important is the idea of serendipity, and let's turn off in order to things, you may find something that you didn't imagine that existed. That's the idea of serendipity. Just be quiet and go away without being formatted or pre-formatted. And then the idea of using books and going to the library and an open library, choose a book by chance and read what is inside. And the lack